All right, man. Hey, thanks again for joining us for today's session. I appreciate it, man. This is gonna be a special one today, my man Remshot. Hey, brother, do you want to take a second to introduce yourself and just let people know what you do, who you are, where you're from?
Well, I go by Remshot, my producer name. I've been making music for about 20 years. Started when I was a student at UC Santa Cruz. Um, so I came from a culture of like open mics, and people were just making music in their dorm rooms, and that was like groundbreaking at the time. And ever since then, just been making music. It's been a part of my life this whole time. Um, I grew up in Daly City, moved to the East Bay, and like I mentioned, UC Santa Cruz. And from there, I actually went to pursued it even further and went to school at Expressions in Emeryville
Nice.
because I, tried to take my music career seriously and met a lot of people there. And from there, I went to work at 17 Hertz Studio in Hayward. It's not there anymore, but I worked with a lot of Bay Area like rap artists there, and that's kind of not where my career ended, but as far as like doing it professionally with other people, I kind of took a break and just after that just focused on beats for the past 10 years, and I'm happy where I'm at, and that's yeah, that's pretty much my music career in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's super dope. I think I met you at the beginning of your music career. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Santa Cruz. But was there, before you got to Santa Cruz, were you already dabbling in production of music?
Not necessarily, but with the whole advent of Napster and downloading music,
Yeah.
that just made me into music on a different level because I was already into listening to my mom's and dad's records,
Yeah.
and like everyone did, making mixtapes, recording off of the radio. But that was such a game changer as far as like expanding the horizon of what music is, because at the time, like I would watch local, like California Music Channel and see E40 and see Bay
Yeah.
Area music, and I just thought the whole world knows who E40 is. That's like I thought the idea of like local music was like wasn't even a concept. I thought everyone what I listened to was what everyone listened to. But when once like illegally downloading music was a thing, it was like wow, there's like a whole entire universe out there of different
Right.
genres and different things to listen to, and going into college with that mindset, using the new T1 downloading connection in the dorm, I was like, oh my god, I'm just like downloading at will all this new music.
Yeah.
And at the same time, people were like, oh, we're making our own music. I was like, wow, like how? Oh, these free programs that you can just download illegally and just make music right there. It's like, and that just fed into like already that curiosity of like finding new music. I want to make my own songs. How do I make my own songs? So it's just like it's just a natural thing. It's like, oh, you have to write it. Oh, you have to learn how to make a beat. So it's just like that to me is like what a producer is. It's like you're a problem solver
Yeah.
and just making choices like what sounds good, what doesn't. Like how do we record? Okay, let's go to the music shop and like ask the guy like, okay, you need a mic. It's like, all right, what do we need now? It's like, oh, you need a audio interface. Okay, and then just figuring it out when you get home, and that was pretty much it back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Probably like now, you're probably like a Pro Tools guy, or using some of the fancy setup. Do you recall some of the earlier systems that you were
Oh
using
yeah,
when
Cool
you
Edit
first
Pro
started?
was the
I
first thing.
still use that thing, man.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was a program that just came with computers back then, but it was perfect. I even got at the music shop they sold me Cubase
uh,
VST, and I was using that,
yeah,
but I still went back to Cool Edit to export and mix down because it was I don't know it was just a standard for like what we
yeah.
were doing at the time, like as far as internet delivery and putting stuff together.
That's amazing, man. So you were chopping up the drums then, and then placing them on Cool Edit,
I
and
think it
that's fun,
was
man.
Acid Pro
Oh,
to pop
okay.
up because it was the same concept, just
Yeah.
everything on timeline. And to this day, I that's how I do it in Pro Tools. It's just the same concept as Cool Edit and Acid
Yeah.
Pro. Because I came to a realization, because like you go through different phases over the 20 years. It's like, oh, I need to buy this, I need this, this is what I need, or I need to sound like this. But
Yeah.
you realize at that point, it's like you're just chasing, you know, you're just chasing the white whale like Moby Dick. You're just, you know, just go back to what works. And
Yeah.
what worked was just chopping. It was just chopping audio, recording audio or downloading audio and just chopping it. And
That's
so
so
like after, trying different things, that's what I went back to. And that's what I go to today. And it's my daughter.
she's so cute, man. I love it,
Yeah.
dude. Hey, man. So is that did you just start producing beats, or at least trying to dabble in it independently, or was that kind of like a group thing when you were in Santa Cruz?
Well, without my friends, like who are my like lifelong friends now, like there was no music. It was all about like us
Yeah.
getting together and like bonding and wanting to express like what we were feeling or going through at the time through music. So without other people, like without our group, which we called Asterisk Rising at the time, there is no music. There is no trying to figure out how to make beats or trying to figure out how to record,
Yeah.
because that's what it was. It was just like our experiences, and we just wanted to translate it into music.
Yeah. And before I ask you who you look up to as a producer, man, hey, do you want to quickly just go into like what the Bay Area scene was like? You mentioned E40. Who else were you listening to before you
I
got to San Diego?
remember, well, it was mostly what I was seeing on TV and hearing
Yeah.
on the radio as a kid,
Yeah.
because you have limited, like, I mean, so it was like Richie Rich, like the
Yep.
Loonies, like Digital Underground, E40,
Yeah.
and the Click, like Spice One, which was cool because some of those people that I listened to as a kid, when I worked in the studio, professional recording studio, I actually worked with those people and recorded them.
Oh, that's so
And it was
dope.
just like, yeah, it's pretty cool to just like check all these people off. And at the again, like when I was a kid, I thought the whole world knows about this music, but I didn't realize it was such a niche. So
Okay.
until later on in life.
Dope, man. And then as you started your journey on becoming a beat producer, man, was there anybody that you looked up to or you try to model your
Well,
style off of?
when I started making beats, like the hottest producer at the time was Kanye West, and I
Oh,
feel like
nice.
as a producer, I could relate to the the production itself. Like I understand the choices that he makes. I understand like why he chose this, and I felt like I related to him as a producer
Yeah.
the most. And then there was also not necessarily like there was a lot of dope producers, but the ones that, like I said, I could relate to was like Ninth Wonder and DJ Premier.
Oh man, good
Um,
choices, man.
just because it was formulaic in a good way.
Yeah.
It was like very simple, and I got it. And I think that's what helps a producer is to have like what they do and know what they do, and do that well, and like still have variety but still have that distinct sound. And I really dug that about those two producers. So I downloaded like everything, all their remixes, all their mixtapes, and just really studied it at the time, like I was learning how to make beats.
Yeah, that's super dope, man. And I can see now that you mention it, I can see like the influence in the music that you make. And I remember even early on when I was sharing some of your beats with like my cousins who are big hip hop heads, they just like flipped their wig when they heard your stuff. They're like, "Who is this dude?" Right? And I'm like, "Man, he's freaking amazing, dude." So
You're talking about like more of like the more recent years, right? Because
yeah, yeah, that's right,
I
man.
went through so many different phases where you know I was only using synths when I first started. Then I figured out, oh shit, I could hook up a record player and it just sounds better when it's coming from a record. And then I went through phase where, oh, I don't want to have any copyrighted stuff, and I work with musicians.
Yeah,
And then I finally came to a realization I just need to go back to that, like when I was digging for vinyl, but I felt
yep,
limited because it's all about like volume, like numbers, like the quantity, like the more samples you have, the better chances you have of like making something that sounds cool or something you like.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working out just looking for records, so I just ended up starting to go down YouTube rabbit holes and just ripping like from there, and
Interesting.
just having like a bigger number. I'm sorry, I'm going off on tangents, but
That's okay. Yeah.
it's just like doing it for so long, you really you you really look back and then you figure out like what works and just how to streamline the whole process. And actually it's a lot of just being true to yourself, because a lot of times all the different phases I went through, I was just trying to what would these people think, or like worrying about what other people think. But when down came down to its roots, it was like, what am I feeling? How do I feel about this? And that's how I pick samples, and that's like
Yeah.
how the music comes together. It's like it's about me. Because honestly, like the beats that I make, I share them with people that like, mean something to me, and I know that it'll make them feel the same way I feel. But honestly, it could just be for me. Like I could
Yeah.
go on a road trip, an 8-hour road trip, and listen to maybe one or two beats the whole 8 hours, and
Man.
be happy. That's like what it does for me. That's it's just like a necessary part of of
Yeah, I've been
being,
very fortunate, yeah, to be blessed with a bunch of your beats and been able to
yeah.
use them. And so yeah, I agree. The later Remshot was definitely more polished and fine tuned. And yeah, you're right. So then when we were reconnected in like 2019, pre-COVID, I just flipped my mind because I remember that after school you went on just a little silent period for a little bit, right? Or after you were working the studio stuff,
Yeah,
or
I
maybe
try
it was
to.
me because I took a break too, and then I ran into your stuff and I was like, holy cow, man, this dude's on another level, man. So,
Yeah,
but
because like
yeah,
after college, I went into that foray of trying to make it in the pros, and
yeah,
at the time, hindsight's 2020. I felt
yeah,
like I didn't have it, like I said, because I was just trying to think about what other people were thinking about,
yeah,
and my mentality and maturity just didn't meet all the opportunities. There's so many opportunities that came up. I know. Um, we're
yeah,
probably going to talk about the beat battles. Like beat battles, those are
yeah,
like opportunities. Those were networking. Like it wasn't about the beat battle itself. It wasn't about like trying to win a contest. It was you're putting yourself out there. You're
yeah,
meeting people. There's people who make music and know people who make music, and that's what it was like. It was all about at that time. And like my
yeah,
mentality just wasn't where it was. And then like when you said like the newer stuff after 2019, like when it clicked for me, like I just came to so many realizations, and it the music, it changed because
yeah.
I was being truer to myself. And I think that's what music is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And I think I meant more just the evolving Ram Shot because I've always been a fan of your music, and even when I left Santa Cruz, I know we did Agnes in Wonderland, the remix,
Yeah,
and we had some other stuff too, right? And I was like, man,
definitely.
I think you've always had it, man. But it's just your growth as a producer, and I've been honored to watch that progress, man. And so you keyed in on something too that I also wanted to touch on was the beat battles, man. So I am one of those who have not been fortunate enough to attend a Scribble Jam,
Oh, right,
and
right
you
on.
have two under your belt, man. So do you want to talk to me about the two separate events that you went with, and just kind of like what your experience was there entering in the beat
Oh yeah,
battles?
yeah, for sure. So that Scribble Jam, um, so that was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and
Oh,
Scribble Jam was well known for, I guess, Eminem won one of those MC battles like back
yeah.
in the day before he got discovered. And I went, I guess it was the two final years they had it, 2007 and 2008.
Okay.
So like one rapper that was in our group was a Tantrum, and
Yeah.
he's a well-known battle rapper, and so he
Absolutely.
entered those tournaments. And I think he was in '06. I'm not sure. And I joined him on the second time around. And it was the first year they had a beat battle. And so I sent my stuff and they liked it. And I was like, cool, I'll go. And I didn't make it past like the second round, I think, but I learned a lot that first time. It was the first beat battle I went to where you had to make the beat on the spot. Like
Dope.
they put a bunch of records in front of you and you dig, and then you just make a beat within an hour.
Yeah.
And back then I didn't have like a process. I just, I was just going in on it. And like now I could, in 1 hour, I mean, I'll give you 3, 4 options.
Sick. Yeah.
But at that time, it was like I was in a different place. But the second year I did it, I made it to the finals, the final
Yeah.
four. I forgot who won the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good experience. But like I said, like those are meant to branch out and meet people and to work with.
Yeah.
And I think Tantrum made it to the final four in '07, and then I think he had an early exit in '08. And
Yeah.
I don't remember much. It's such a hazy time, but all I remember is
Yeah.
just eating White Castle like the whole week I was there, like 4 days in a row.
Hey, can you talk to me about like the journey on getting there? So every time like I hear a Scribble Jam story, you're a broke college kid at the time, and you guys got to like pull up in a van. Did you guys like do the driving experience from Cali to Ohio, or did you guys fly over there?
My
Yeah.
memory is so hazy, but I just remember the first time I went to Scribble Jam, Cincinnati, Ohio, with Tantrum. It was
Okay.
probably like 115 degrees. We flew there, and I let him make all the accommodations, and we stayed at some snooty motel
Nice.
that like
Appropriate. Yeah.
yeah, and all my stuff, all my clothes smelled like cigarettes, like the whole time. And there was nothing. There was nothing around. That's why I said we ate White Castle every single day, every meal, because there was nothing but a White Castle like walking distance from the motel.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we were like on the border of Kentucky. And it was just like a culture shock for me because I'd never been like in that
Yeah.
area.
Uh-huh. Hey, and then so okay, so you talked about the beat battle. So you said that you had an hour to produce a beat, and it was like was everybody just sitting around hanging out while you guys were producing that beat within the hour, or is it were you given time to put that together in a different spot away from everybody else?
We were on the second stage, and we were just on stage like with the spotlights on us, and people are just just having drinks or just in the
Yeah,
in the audience like watching, I guess, if they wanted to watch. And
sure.
that's where we were.
Dope, man. And then you said, I think you mentioned earlier too that you had to try out to get a slot on the at the beat battle, or you
Yeah,
had to.
I think they had like local like qualifiers like
Okay.
all around the country. I think in '08, because I was in it in '07, they just said, oh, you're in. um who was the guy? Kevin Beecham was the organizer
Okay.
back then. And yeah, he did a good job organizing and getting people on board.
Oh man. Okay. And then you went the second year, and then you made it to the finals. That must have been an amazing experience, man. Just you know, good on you for having the confidence to do that and getting that under your belt, man. I've always wished that I could have gone, but I didn't. So that's awesome. I love hearing the stories about it.
Yeah, that was yeah, it was a proud moment. I think at that time I was already working at the studio, so it was cool to like bring that back and have that confidence coming back,
Yeah.
um, as far as like as a producer.
Yeah, definitely, man. And so, yeah, I think your Santa Cruz time was really key too, as well. And so, you had told me, your exposure to Bay Area music, set the foundation for you, kind of like kickstart your journey into music. Hey, yeah. So with that, I think you took that experience back with you, and you went on to further develop yourself. But I do want to go back now that you mentioned Tantrum to your time at Santa Cruz, right? So you mentioned earlier that the Bay Area music set the foundation for you kickstarting your career in music. And then, I want to talk about, the group of folks that you hung out with, man. You guys started a group and you guys made music as a collective entity. Do you want to introduce the group and just talk about that whole experience?
Oh yeah, so how do like I mentioned earlier, the culture at Santa Cruz was there was a lot of like poetry and music, open mics, and it was just it was a normal thing for someone to have the courage to get up on an open mic and express themselves, and not just like on stage, but like in small groups and in our student organizations, people opening up and
Yeah.
like opening up the floodgates, like emotionally, just going through a transformation from being a kid from high school and becoming a grown up
Yeah.
and all that entails, and going through that with with others, and bonding over that. Actually, I could there's a specific moment that I could um, attribute to our whole music making journey. Was like there was this outreach program where we host other Filipino high school students that got accepted to UC Santa Cruz, and we host them. And I guess like, it's like a recruiting trip where we show them around and all that. But it was more about showing them that there's a community of people just like them, and
Yeah.
not just to go to Santa Cruz, but to go to college and all that. And that whole experience of doing that for other kids, like really really like shook us like to our cores. Like, wow, we're doing something bigger than ourselves. When we didn't, all we cared about was like studies and partying, and that was like the first time for people like us to like
Yeah.
really do something, for others and like make an impact. And I think that led us like, oh man, like we want to express ourselves too creatively, and naturally it was music, because we were all into music, we were all downloading music, and that's how that whole process started. And we formed a group, and there was like 10 of us.
Nice.
And then we remember there's one guy that was already rapping. We weren't rapping. I wasn't rapping. Like I wanted to,
Yeah.
I was into it, and I felt like I could do it. But there's one guy who just was already going up in open mics and just having punchlines and all that, and sounding like Eminem. That was Tantrum.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's like we got to get that guy like with us. And so he was like from the start, it wasn't like a good fit because we wanted to talk about all this emo stuff, and that's like how we got it. But he wanted to, talk about murdering people, metaphorically. So it was like it was a weird fit from the start, but that was us, It was
Yeah.
just a bunch of like misfits, people who
Yeah.
wanted to make music. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I joke with him like to this day. I feel like he holds this grudge because like we wanted to make these like, these like emo type of like inspirational songs, and it was like such a clash. But I made it up to him. Like I produced like half of a solo and mixed a solo album for him
Yeah.
where he was in control and he made all the decisions. So I feel like he shouldn't hold it against me because he got squeeze that one out.
Man, I thought you guys were an awesome group, and I was on the way out of Santa Cruz, and then but I saw the early starts of you guys making music, and I know I've seen you guys perform at least twice in that open mic collective, and I even called Tantrum's first battle in Santa Cruz, so I was one of the judges for that. But yeah, you guys were amazing, man. You guys were all great people, and then as I met you guys individually, man, it was just cool getting exposed to your music, man. And so you mentioned that at the start you didn't rap, but so was it beat making first, and then you started experimenting with rapping? Because
I'm not
folks
sure.
don't know.
It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like I think it was naturally it was probably the rapping because we're
Oh.
downloading
Okay.
instrumentals. It started with freestyling. We
Yep.
freestyle
Okay.
cipher circles. Yeah, that was like the thing. Every single party, like we went to parties so we could freestyle, and
Okay.
that's probably how it started.
Oh man. Okay. So that's it, man. So you do have a nice collection of music that you rapped onto as well. And then you went on to record your first EP in 2007, The 5 Point Theory. as a collective group, and then the second one after that in 2008. Hey, do you want to just talk to us about just the story of putting together the first album
Oh
with
yeah.
that many people?
So technically, that was the first like post Santa Cruz and working with like an independent record label.
Okay.
During Santa Cruz, throughout those 4 years, from like 2002 to 2005, we put out an album every year,
Oh, sick.
which I probably would never publish because we were learning and we were still in that rookie phase. So like some
Yeah.
of the stuff, unless I edit it, is a little embarrassing. You
Uh,
know, when first putting music out.
yeah.
But yeah, those albums you referred to are when I started to take it seriously. That first EP,
Yeah.
um, I still recorded in Cool Edit Pro, and that's when I was still starting out at that audio school, and that's when I was really linking up with people who were also serious about their craft, like graphic designers, people who wanted to run their own record labels, people who wanted to master,
Yeah.
uh, music, and the last and final like Rising Asterisk album, Rise and Shine, that one was actually recorded in the studios at the school. So that was all like $2,000 mics and $500,000 like studios and with
Oh,
sound treatments, and that was like a really cool experience to use all that equipment and do all that stuff.
yeah. And you ran the boards on that on those projects?
Yes.
Okay.
So like
Yes.
I guess like every student gets like 2 hours a week at the time. But
Sick.
to circumvent that, I would book it like at 11 p.m. at night. So
Yeah.
like, and I know no one's gonna come in at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. So we would just pull all nighters like in
Brilliant.
the lab like that and get it done that way.
Dope, man. And I know you were rapping for a while, so was there just a point or a spot in the road where you decided that, hey, I'm gonna just
Well,
pursue beat making, or do you still rap? And,
once I after I finished at the audio school, I was in the professional world, and what they tell you is you need to just pick one thing, like do one thing. I still didn't do one thing, but
yeah,
one thing that I took off of the list was rapping because I had to be more professional. You can't just be a jack of all trades, and so that was like one thing that just came off the list,
okay,
and I was really more focused on engineering, recording and mixing other people's songs and producing, but not at the degree that I felt like I should have. I did a lot more engineering during those times I worked at 1700 Studio.
yeah. Although you are though, man, you're a walking record label, man. You rap, you
Yeah,
rap, produce,
yeah,
and
I think it's just
everything.
that 10,000 hours effect. I put
Yep,
10,000 hours in so many different crafts that I could probably do it. You know,
hundred
like
percent, man.
probably put together a music video or mix someone else's record, master it, and or produce it. Like I put my hours, I put the time in, so
Yeah,
I'm confident in doing those types of things.
yeah. You've definitely done your work, and it shows. As I had the fortune of working with you for a couple years, man. So, I've always been impressed, man, of Remshot and your capability,
Right
man.
on.
Yeah, and so with that, I'm always interested in how an individual gets his name, right? Remshot. What's the story?
Well, I guess my name is Jeremy. I mean, I went through a bunch of like stupid names, like starting from from the start. But my now wife Rose, back then, because they started calling me Rem for short, you know, and she's just like, why don't you add a shot, Rem shot to that, you know? It's like, oh, that's cool, and yeah, so I'll give her credit for
Yeah. Oh, that's wild, man.
yeah,
And at that point, she was a keeper, man,
yeah.
huh? That's dope, man. And so, in your time working in the professional studio, can you talk to me about some of the projects that you worked on? Because I did, experience some of the tantrum tracks that you did in the Shark Sinatra album that you did. But do you want to expand more on some of the work
Um,
you did over there?
So I worked with the Jacka, the late Jacka, um, and did some mixing on songs with Mr. Fab. Uh,
Legends.
it's like Yuck Mouth. Well, at 1700 Studios, it was a lot of just like local independent artists, and what they did was they would pay these like big name Bay Area rappers, anything between like 500,000, couple grand to
Wow.
do a verse on their song. And that is when I was able to work with a lot of these big artists. They'd bring them in and pay them to do a verse, or and I would just record it. And then at that time, part of the business model for the studio was the artists that had like a hit on the radio at that time. So this was back in 2008. It was
Yeah.
Jacka had a hit song on the radio, so he was getting free studio time once a week. I think that the Hood Stars had that Grown Man Get My Grown Man On song, so they had once a week studio time. Big Rich had a hit, and so he had you know um, free studio time like once a week, and
Yeah.
we were assigned to do these sessions like at 2 in the morning, like late at night, and that would be another time I would work with these artists, and they would bring in other artists. I remember Freeway, Bun B, you know, Paul Wall, guys like that would come to the
Jeez.
studio to be featured on their albums,
So
and
awesome.
it was cool to see different artists come through like that. I know there's more, but it's just like it was such a hazy time for me. That was the first time I really like smoked blunts like that at the time. Like
Yeah.
my first like my first week there, I busted my ass like as far as cleaning, and so I was given an opportunity. Oh, you could actually record, do this shit session at 3 a.m. Like, and I was like excited. And that was like the first time, like, I think it was with the Jacka, and they were, you know,
Hey.
passing out blunts, just going around. And I'd never smoked like that before. It was just like, it's like
Yeah.
you finish one and then they're already finishing rolling another. It's like, what? Like, I mean, yeah, we did stuff like that in college, but it was not to that level. And
Yeah.
I just remember recording, what was the name of the song? The song was The California, and it's a pretty dope, one of the dopest, like one of my favorite Jackass songs. And that was like the first time I got to record anyone, and yeah, I felt like I earned it as an intern to record, and it happened to be that song on that night, and I was
Yeah.
so lit that I didn't wake up the next morning. And as an intern, it was like my job to pick up the engineer from the BART station. He calls me. He's like, "I'm at the BART station. Where are you?" And I was still in bed, still lit from the night before. I was like, and yeah, and so like, I mean,
Oh.
I didn't get fired. I still, made it through. But like that was just like a big culture shock for me to be like, okay, now I'm here recording music.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Them stories, man.
Yeah.
I live and die for those stories when I do these interviews, and that's great, man. Some good hip hop history in the Bay Area. But I wish that I took a long break. After a little bit after Santa Cruz, and then finally got a chance to reconnect with you in 2019. So I thought that was really long overdue, man. And like I mentioned, man, I had the fortune of just doing some of the projects that I did in recent years with you. Especially one of my favorites is the Tokyo Time Machine album that we did with
Oh
Shimon
yeah.
Cassette.
Yeah. That
So
was I think that
yeah,
was like the peak of my, you know, when I was really working at it, and I like how we actually there's something to show for it, because at that
yeah.
time I was just like in a flow state, and I'm very happy with that how that turned out.
Yeah, yeah, it came together greatly, man, and so I appreciate all your work on that, and it's nice to see you on vinyl. Just like you mentioned, man, I'm an old school dude, and when I came back to do music, I had a lot of friends who stuck with music, And then, I was still trying to do physical releases, and they were like, man, that's not the, thing anymore, right? They were like, hey, just, do the digital release. But man, I was like, man, I'm just too old school. I need a physical copy, man. Even if we don't make a lot, I just like the ability to hold and look at something. So do you share the same opinion, or are you more a digital guy, like?
Um, you know, I did. I mean, all my favorite music that I will go back and listen to is from the CD era, and so that, I mean, there's definitely like a sentimental value in that, but it's just I guess it's just so much easier to say, "Hey Alexa, like play this,"
Yeah.
or even in the car when I'm driving, and just like just to say it,
Yeah.
you know. But I guess I'm on like both sides of it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we got to constantly evolve. I guess I'm probably just part of that too old era, or I'm just a pack rat, man. One of the two. But hey, with that, man, yeah, you've had an amazing career, man. You're super versatile, man. We all love you. And I want to talk to you about just your identity as a producer and rapper. What did being Filipino have to do in terms of you developing yourself as a producer rapper? Was that even a thing, or was that something that you just kind of blanked out and did your thing as music? Did that ever come into a role?
Well, well, the fact that there were at the time that I was interested in music, the fact that there were other Filipinos doing it helped me say like, oh, it's okay, it's something I could do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even questioned like, oh, I can't. People like yourself, um, who's out at the time, Bamboo. He
Yeah.
was coming up at that time when I was like interested in making music, and just the fact that you guys existed, that definitely like paved the way, saying like, oh, it's okay, it's something we can do. And growing up, listening to like groups like Pinay,
Yep.
and was like, oh shit, Filipinos can make music, like mainstream stuff that everyone likes and knows about. So just seeing that, um, help make it, help pave the way. As far as like the identity, the, a lot of the things that make Filipinos is why I got into music. The whole idea of like family, and like and and bonding with others and treating other people like family led music making. So culturally, I think it's in our bones for sure.
Yeah.
As far as like my own family, my my dad is the oldest of 10, and his mom, my grandmother, they had a rondalia. They were like a whole band, all kids like played
Sick.
some instrument, all the way down to tambourine, for the littlest kids. And I think my dad was just a guitar. So they were a band, and I think they were actually on like TV at one point, like on KOFY, like one of those like stations
So,
in some contests. And it's just in my DNA, I guess, as far as like making music. If that's like what they did.
dude, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think I can relate to that, man. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think early on for me, it was just yeah, I think exposure to all the music my parents played, and just trying to continue that tradition. So that's super dope, man.
And on top of that, it's like Filipinos like to do karaoke, and when they do karaoke, they like to do like emo songs and really sad songs. And
Yeah.
when I was going through that self reflection, when my producer abilities like started to transform, like trying to see like who am I? Like when I was honest with myself, I was like, when I was growing up, I liked those like SWV weak songs. I like those songs that made me
Absolutely.
cry. I
Yes.
wanted like Boys to Men, that
Yeah.
like I'll make love to you. Like I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I knew it's what I wanted to do. Like songs
Yeah.
like that, and that's like who I am, like, and who a lot of Filipinos are. They like that corny, like really sad stuff. So it was like I need to find those songs that make me feel that way and
Yeah.
sample that stuff and like make other people feel that same way, but through my interpretation. You know, like I'm the guy, like I'll cry on some movies, like Cool Runnings when they at the end when they picked up their, see, that's the type of shit that I look for, like in music, like those type of moments. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I cried on that movie, so, and it's like I'm trying to find those moments in samples, because like at first it was limited. Oh, I'll just go back to sampling the songs of like from my childhood that made me feel that way, and that well like ran dry. So it's like now I need to expand to other genres, but still find that same feeling, like still find that same vibe. And I
Yeah.
think like how I put my own personal like um footprint into music. You know, even though I'm sampling and using other people's stuff, it's just like that's how I find like myself in the music, is finding those like emotional cues and samples. And it's not just sad music, but it's funny because when I was working at the studio, I'm working with like a lot of like gangster rappers or like R&B singers.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's a coincidence that the stuff they wrote to this was to my stuff was like serious, like conscious stuff. Even though they, you know, it was like gangster rappers, but when they listened to my beat that they wanted to use, it was like they're talking about some real shit in there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's because of like that vibe that I look for in myself in the music that I make.
Yeah, I think you got a good ear of picking samples too. And as you mentioned, man, I just think your IQ as a producer is just off the chart, man. It's yeah, I'm just always amazed, man. Every time I get a folder of beats, I'm like, golly, man, where do I start, man? And
Yeah, because
so,
I mean, being a producer, like I mentioned in the beginning, is just you're just solving problems and making choices, and
yeah,
that's all it comes down to. And the truer to yourself you could be, like the better it'll come out.
yeah. And so, you mentioned, you're 20 years plus in the game. And so, what has music done for you in your life, man? How's it, affected the person that you are?
It's like I said, it's it's a shot in the arm for me. Like I said, it could just be only for me, and I could listen to the same song over and over again on the way to work. It's just like why does like a skater go to the skate park and do the same trick over and over again? You know, like why if you're not trying to make it, you know, you go play hoops. Like why keep playing over and over again? It's just it's just like fulfilling in a way that like most people don't understand. Like create something, like you did something, and to just play it back, you know, and live it.
Yeah,
It's fulfilling.
awesome, man. Hey, you want to talk to me real quick about some of the projects that you're working on right now? What you have
Well,
going on?
well, some of the guys that I used to rap with, Rising Asterisk, like that I'm still close with to this day. I've been trying to pull everyone back for for like a comeback. Not necessarily in the same way we were pursuing it, where we're trying to be professional or try to make it, but so like I've been trying to get them to, you know, come out of retirement and just spit something, just because we can, and just because like it makes us happy. And for the theme I told them was like because they we all have our own kids now. It's just write something that you know that they're gonna listen to when they get older. Like, what do you want to say? Rather
Yeah,
than like, oh, let's try to make something that's cool that everyone likes. And no, it's just like just think about them and like they're gonna listen to this. And what would you write if you know that they're gonna listen to this when they, you know, when they grow up? And that's like the overarching theme of like what I want them to think about when we're writing this.
yeah. I hope you guys get that out soon. I had the pleasure of having D and Ison on a track
Yeah.
that I'll talk to you after this, man. I've got an idea. I really want to get that track
Yeah,
out, and
right
then
on.
in 2019 we did the track with Jerisa,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I
man,
have you to thank for bringing them back, because it was like a bucket list thing for them to have someone like you, like on a track with them, or doing a track with someone that we listen to, like someone who was like, oh, this is the reason Kelly to Japan is like the reason why we started. Like before we even wrote our own raps, we were playing Cali to Japan on repeat, like in our dorms, like to get pumped up, like for the day or going to class or going to a party and stuff.
that's so wild though. I
I was
feel
like,
like you though, man. Like like it's so hard for me to listen to that stuff back in
yeah,
the day.
yeah,
Uh, but man, thank you, man. And the same thing, man. Bucket list, man, was to work with y'all, man, too. So I'm glad it came for full
right
circle,
on.
man. I love the Santa Cruz community that we built, and too bad we didn't overlap too much. But I was talking in a different interview that Santa Cruz just had an amazing scene, man. We were fortunate enough, man. We had this is probably way past your time. But there was a group called the Aggressive Mike Experts, right? Who were
Mhm.
rapping, and he was one of the rappers was Filipino guy, and they were all Asian too, man. And so that kind of inspired me too. And then it was just a chain on, and man, just that Oaks community had a great hip hop scene. It was cool that you guys picked it up and just demolished it, and made a name for yourselves, man. I've been fortunate to see that in motion.
Yeah, it's just like you said, the community, we just kept paying it forward. Like I remember Colin showing me how to use Cool Edit Pro,
Yeah,
and that was
man.
like that was a big deal. Like just, and then I did the same for people who came after us. Like my little brother was a freshman when I was a senior, and a bunch of him and his friends were doing music, and it just kept going like, after that.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so dope, man. And I hope that I get to jump on with more tracks with Teresa and D and Ice, man, and Tantrum, man. These guys, yeah, you guys just man, that's great, man. It's just good hip hop, man. I like you, not doing it for anything anymore, just music for ourselves. And I just want to build that catalog of just good music, man. And it's always fun when you can do it with good people, man. So,
Yeah.
it's great. So I know you got this project that's getting ready to come out with myself and the L, based out of Washington. Any insight you want to share with the folks about the project that you got dropping, or just the process of putting that album together?
Um, I don't know. It's like quietly becoming like a really good album. I just remember cranking them out. We never really like got together and said, "Oh, we're doing an album." It just like there's one song. Oh, here's another song.
Yep.
Spread out over a year, and then yeah. So that album, it just was like a quiet, like it just crept up, and then like all of a sudden, 13 songs. Like
Yeah. Holy cow.
I thought at first it was like, oh yeah, I got one song, got two songs. Oh, let's do like a 4 song like little EP, and then more and more just kept coming, and I think I had like a resurgence with like beats, and I just shot you more, and then and
Yeah.
you just kept making more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what it was first. Just at first, just one time, and yeah, I didn't think about it until we started racking up all the songs, and then you're right. I think like I was like, okay, maybe we'll do like 8 and pick the best 6 or something. And then yeah, like you said, you just like, hey, check these beats out. And I was like, whoa, man. And I would write to them instantly and just get done with it. Here we are 13 songs later, man. And then we'll figure it out from there. But I look forward to getting that album out. It's got a definitely good old school hip hop vibe to it, boom bap. And I'm excited. And the beats that you got on there are just freaking banging, man. So I can't wait, man.
Yeah, that's why I listen to my own stuff on repeat sometimes, because I'm trying to like what was I thinking like at that time. It sounds vain, but it's just like I just like I don't even know like what state of mind I was in when some of these beats happen. It's just
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, man. I look forward to the release, and I'll probably anticipate another 30, 60 days, but we're there. Yeah, we're there. We just got to get the title down, and I can't
yeah.
wait to share with the world, man. But yeah, man, what else are you working on? So you got, a slight comeback with the crew that you're slowly working on, and you got this album that's getting ready to drop. Any other projects that you want to talk to the people about?
I guess with Tantrum, like he grabbed a bunch of beats for me, and I guess I just need to keep bugging him. Um, Me and him like play phone tag every so often, and I think
Yeah.
it's my turn to just blow him up and say like, where are we at as far as putting something together. But I'll let him call his shots, because for the longest time he was, going along with what we wanted to do. So I'm looking forward to see what he puts out.
Yeah, me too, man. You guys make good music together, man, and I'm so happy that you're still active in terms of making music, man. So it's good to have Remshot in full swing again, man. And so with that, man, yeah, do you want to tell people where you can find your music at? Where do you have it all located so they can look you up?
Well, I have a website, remshotbeats.com, and you can pretty much see like a lot of the beats that I have for sale and information about. I pretty much like have a blog up there. Wrote all about my history, my process, and my career in there. Should I tell them about the songs you guys made?
Yes, yeah, let's get that. So that when that was just exactly happening, I was like, I wonder if they have exposure to like what you're doing, man. Do they have any interest in the music that you're making?
Um, well, like to them, it's like normal. It's not like, oh
Uh,
yeah, I made a song. It's like Rocco has a song that he made when he was 5, and it's like a
oh
like a
man.
anthem for us. Like we play it, and my daughter will sing along with it as if it's like a normal song, like that was from Frozen or something. Like
Oh, that's great. Holy
yeah,
cow. I'd love to hear it at some point, man, but it's probably a personal track. But that sounds cool, man. Yeah, I probably say the same thing too, man. Like I try to get, yeah, my daughter, she's same thing, exposed to like making music. So sometimes she knows the words to the song.
uh,
No, yeah, so it's crazy. So it's cool to see that, it's also happening on your end. But yeah, really dope, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, my daughter's favorite song. This morning, she's like, "Play that one song you made." It's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I don't like. We were both getting frustrated with each other. We don't like. What are you talking? What song? What song? The song you made. And then she finally said, "The one that has talks about Mario." Oh, you're talking about Super Mario Brothers with Memphis Reigns. Like, when I
dude.
play that, like that's what she wanted to hear in the car.
Dude,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm such a fan now, dude. God bless her soul, man. Hey, that track was awesome, dude.
Because I told her the girl sings, that's Princess Peach. That's supposed to be Princess Peach singing. Like, and that's like why she latched onto that song.
Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't me and the L then.
And yeah, she likes it. She likes that one.
oh, oh man, I can't. Hey, dude, you did an amazing job flipping that song too, man. It's another song I'm excited for people to hear, man.
Yeah, because the original version, which was cool, it just didn't fit, and it was like, it just didn't sit well, and then like I just couldn't let it go, that.
Yeah,
And so like, no, we have to be. I've done it in the past where we've changed the beat and made it better. Like I could do this, and lo and
dude.
behold, there's something that worked.
Yeah, you upped your game on that track. It was already a dope track, but I think after you did that, I was like, yeah, you're right. I think we were just sonically just trying to fit and make it work, and yeah, and then the new version just freaking amazing, out of this world, man, out of this world. So I can't wait. Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been great learning about you and just getting an opportunity to flesh all that stuff and just learning more about Remshot. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.